Welcome to the True Blue Riffcast, the number one RiffTrax podcast in the world. I am Superfan Jeremy, and I am joined, as always, by...
geez. Did you hear that?
Dave.
I wanted to make sure you heard that. That was me opening a can of Coca-Cola. Hi, yes, I'm Dave. I'm here. Superfan number one of RiffTrax. How you doing?
Oh, it's September. God. That sounded really sick. Like, I don't know. This is very slurpy. It is September 1st, Dave.
We have 4 months left of the 2010s, as everyone, I guess, here we are. We got 4 months left to go in the decade, and I guess we're still calling it the 2010s.
Yeah, and 4 months left until 1990 is 30 years old.
I'm going to need you to shut your mouth about that, because...
I'm one of those people that every time I think about it for a second, I'm like, what, it was just like 10 years ago, right? No.
Nope.
Like, I heard Pearl Jam on the classic rock station the other day. And I'm like, hey, why is this on here? This song's not that. Oh, yeah.
30 years old.
So I it makes me feel really old every time I think about it.
Spoken class today.
Before we move on to anything else, I do have a quick note. We were talking about the Rifftones previously, and I had mentioned that I thought Mary Jo Pehl was singing background vocals on the love theme from Jaws with Kevin.
You were wrong.
I was wrong. That is, in fact, Bill Corbett's wife, Virginia, singing. So there you go. Just a quick correction.
I don't know the woman personally, but I hear her name a lot come up in conversation, and she just, everyone who talks about her seems like she's very nice. Apparently, she's married to Bill and their husband and wife. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that went nowhere. So let's move on to somewhere. Let's go look at headlines.
Headlines.
We didn't really talk about this much last week because we were talking about all the Spider-Man crap, but D23 happened, the Disney Expo, and they showed off a bunch of stuff, a bunch of new things coming to Disney Plus. They made a few announcements. There's a Miss Marvel show coming, a Moon Knight show, which I'm really excited about, a She-Hulk show. Yes. They're doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi show starring Ewan McGregor that takes place like 6 months after episode 3. They showed a trailer for The Mandalorian, and announced that Taika Waititi is going to be playing the voice of one of the assassin droids or whatever. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Everyone loves Taika Waititi, especially me.
Yeah, and then they showed the one thing that is pretty much the only thing people are still talking about, and that is a special trailer for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Now, we can talk about this because it's related to RiffTrax, because in the Kickstarter, they said, hey, guess what? We're going to do a riff of this if we hit this stretch goal.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I think they were going to do that anyway.
Probably.
But they're giving it away to the people at that level.
Yeah, get it free.
Yeah. Well, kind of free, but still, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of it's part of the rewards.
It's not an additional cost.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I really like that. I actually am starting to miss the MP3 era just a little bit in this way. We talked about this when we talked about The Wizard of Oz. Is that I really like it when we get these callbacks to the MP3 era, even though it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets your blood flowing, ooh, yeah, RiffTrax, right? We've been in the full-blown VOD era since at least 2013. So it's been almost 7 years, since McBain came. And, McBain was the first of the full-blown VOD era. It kind of really drastically changed how RiffTrax operated. And we haven't been getting we get some now and then, but we don't get very many MP3s. And I would actually kind of like to see, and I don't try to make this a podcast about this is what I would like, but I think I'd like to see more MP3s, honestly. I guess I'll leave it at that, but I'm glad that Star Wars I'm glad that Star Wars, they've committed to doing, carrying out with Star Wars, and I guess to a lesser extent, the Jurassic World series are doing that one for the Kickstarter as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just really glad that they've stuck with Star Wars to kind of like bring everything together, you know. So I really do enjoy those riffs because I enjoy the movies.
Yeah. And considering how strong they have been with the Star Wars riffs.
Oh yeah. I mean, we talk about. I don't think. What's the number one Star Wars riff? Not of all time, but the number one Star Wars riff that you and I talk about almost constantly.
Rogue One.
No, not. Yes, Rogue One. Ding ding. For some reason, I thought you said Solo, and that doesn't make any sense. But I know he got the right one. Yeah, Rogue One. Oh man, but they took it off Netflix, which means I'm gonna have to buy Rogue One. But yeah, even though, like, here's the thing, I wouldn't even have watched Rogue One if it wasn't for RiffTrax.
Same here. I had no interest in it, honestly, and I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Yeah, me too. But it's just like, it's like looking at it, I wasn't interested in it. But when I saw the RiffTrax, number one, the riff is excellent, but the movie's not bad. It's actually pretty good, but it's not it's edge-tastic. It's like that kind of thing. Like, oh, we're gonna subvert expectations for Star Wars. Fine, whatever. But I kind of like the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy kind of vibe a little bit better. But Rogue One is an excellent movie, so yeah. I will give it that.
It was okay.
Yeah,
it was better than Solo.
Yeah. Oh, dude, Solo's the worst. Have you watched it yet?
No, I still haven't.
Well, watch it with the RiffTrax, because if you try to watch it without RiffTrax, you're just gonna want to slit your wrists. And I want you to stick around, Jeremy. I kind of like you.
Well, I'll probably wait until November 12th, when Disney Plus launches their streaming thing, and I can just watch it on there.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, but anyway. The last Skywalker, the Rise of Skywalker. Oh my gosh! So they had like a minute of like archival footage, like blah blah blah. We're setting up the nostalgia and everything's gonna get wrapped up in this next movie, and then they showed about a minute of just like very brief glimpses of like new footage from the Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, and it's just like, what? Oh my gosh, this is so cool, right? And I don't want to say money shot, but because that's
what it was. That's what it was. Though. I mean,
the money shot, is we'll call her Dark Ray, and she has this nunchuck Darth Maul lightsaber, right? It's like, boom. Like, she's like, oh my gosh, she went evil, and it swings around like, boom. Oh, she's like Darth Maul. This is gonna be great. Like, she has a staff, and now she's gonna go around and kick everyone's butt because she's evil and stuff now, and it's like, oh no, what's gonna happen, right? Okay, so here's the thing about that. First, I will ask you for your reactions, Jeremy, about that. What did you think? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about the new images from The Rise of Skywalker stood out to you?
The part where Rey and Kylo are like fighting on the platform in the water, that was really cool. And then the whole Dark Rey thing was neat. I actually I sent the link of that video to my son, and he just sent back, excuse me, is that Rey holding a double-bladed lightsaber? And I'm like, yeah, it seems to be. But my thought, and my initial thought, and my current thought still is that it's not real.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a vision or something.
Yeah, it's definitely...
Like the Force cave type thing that Luke went into on Dagobah. That's my guess.
They have toys to sell. They can't wreck Rey. You know what I'm saying? So it's that would be kind of, I don't want to say terrible, but I mean, at the same time, like, you don't really believe it, and you really shouldn't, that Rey's going to go to the dark side. I mean, it's definitely an illusion of some kind. Either that or she's some kind of clone, or like Rey's going to have to face herself, that kind of thing. But it is a very, very cool image. And Daisy Ridley even said that, like, I was surprised, or no, I'll try to do my best. I was surprised when they put that in the trailer. You know, my best skinny British girl impression right there.
Ouch.
Have you seen the reaction from, let's say, some of the people who were less than enthused about the last movie?
No, because I try not to pay attention to those idiots.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's like, dude. Okay, yeah, I don't know. We talked about this, and that's a sort of precursor to this podcast last year when we did the half-year review for 2018, and we talked about The Last Jedi riff.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers that. And I kind of was a defender of this movie, of The Last Jedi, and because I enjoyed it quite a bit. People wanted to bring politics and stuff into it, and I was just like, guys, you are completely like everybody did. Everybody wanted to assign politics to The Last Jedi, and everybody kind of wrecked the whole experience of The Last Jedi because of it, because all that just completely overshadowed the movie. And I'm really kind of hoping that that doesn't happen with this movie, because I don't want to go through that bullcrap again. It's like, I don't want to feel like my friend Rick Wolf from Robot Co-op had a very good thing to say. It's like, people feel like now that they're being held at gunpoint when they talk about Star Wars, because you either have to, because like, if you like it, you're this political slur. If you don't like it, you're that political slur. So everyone's like on edge about Star Wars, and we really shouldn't be. It's bullcrap. But I'm just really hoping that, I mean, because the trailer looked awesome. I think it's going to be a super fun movie, and I just really hope that we don't have to go through the needless, stupid controversy over nothing.
Yeah, but the way that fandoms are, we will.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, welcome back from the edit, everybody.
Yes. Last week, Dave put up a post in the True Blue RiffTrax fan group on Facebook asking what people thought or what people wanted to see for the 2020 live show lineup. And he went through and he tallied all of the votes, if you will, what people said they wanted to see. What do you got, Dave?
Well, first I got to say that this, the reason I did this was because, as we all know, that we just had Giant Spider Invasion, the final RiffTrax 2019 live show, which wrapped up the RiffTrax live season. And it's like, okay, so next year I think it's going to be, so next year will be the 12th RiffTrax live season. And that's pretty impressive, honestly. And they've done 30 of these live shows, and they're going to keep going. So I said, now I'm going to suspend the rule of, hey, don't say, oh, I want RiffTrax to do this, and that. Now, if anybody from the group is listening, I know this is kind of a sore spot for many people, is that the reason we have that rule is because if we don't have that rule, then the group opens up to literally anything, and it becomes a free-for-all, and it doesn't become about RiffTrax.
Yeah, like, every other post is, oh, they should riff this movie, or they should riff this movie, or oh, wouldn't it be great if they riff this, or it would all just be that. We've seen examples of it in other groups, and it's just a mess.
It's chaos. And it's and anytime that comes up, I just very politely I say, hey, guys, just go ahead, please put that in ideas.rifftrax.com. We want to keep this kind of like focused on what RiffTrax has done and what we know they will be doing, that kind of thing, and like other RiffTrax related news. So I suspended that because for this thread, and it's one of the most engaged in posts we've had in this group in over a year.
Yeah, a lot of people got it.
So everyone just was like really, and the results kind of surprised me a little bit. So I went up and I went through everybody's, and for the purposes of this this reveal of what won, basically.
Yeah.
The rules were you get 3, pretend it's April, June, August show lineup like it has been in the past couple 3 years. Because before they used to do 4, they don't do that anymore. It's been 3 for I think since like 2017. What are your top 3? Like what are your big ones? And I was very surprised. These are the results. Now, for the purposes of this, I tallied everything up, but I only included in these results. I only included entries that got more than 1 vote. So if you got 2 or more, then you were included.
Yeah.
There was just so many. If the members of the True Blue RiffTrax fans got to choose the 2020 live season, so the first, far and away, the one that everybody wants to see really is Masters of the Universe, the 1986, that monstrosity. Yeah, because that's right, because it was like right after that the toy line collapsed in 1987, so it has to be 1987.
It was that wonderful Canon Films masterpiece.
Yeah.
That they filmed at the same time as one of their other amazing disasters, Superman 4.
Yeah, and then I think didn't Over the Top come out like around that same time too?
I believe so. It might have been the year later, but yeah, they were right all in the same grouping.
Mm-hmm. But so Masters of the Universe, clear winner, far and away. Next one after that, just right up there, Ghost House. Ghost House was...
Didn't we just talk about that one?
Most popular. Yeah. Second most popular. It won. So I was just like, wow, more people that aren't being prompted by me to get a Ghost House live show is in there. Finally, the number 3 pick is none other than The Guy from Harlem.
Yep, one of the all-time classic riffs.
Yep. So here we are, 7 years after Ghost House and Guy from Harlem were released on RiffTrax. They're still insanely popular, and people still want to see them. So that's it for the 2020. If the True Blue RiffTrax fans got to choose the lineup, it would be Masters of the Universe, Ghost House, and The Guy from Harlem. Runners up were Roller Gator was the first runner-up, which I was so very happy about. I wanted it to get in there to break it. If it had been 4 shows, Roller Gator would have been included, but that wasn't the parameters. So it remains a runner-up, technically. Yeah. Then Werewolf, the MST3K standard. Gymkata, Garbage Pail Kids, which I don't know if I would want to see that rift, honestly, but, yeah. Flash Gordon, and Boggy Creek 2, another MST3K one.
Yeah.
So
anytime I see any movie that's supposed to be a comedy, I have to remind myself, that movie was bad, but riffing a comedy doesn't lend itself well to that usually.
Unless it's Street Fighter.
Unless it's Street Fighter, yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our weekend box office real quick before we get into the meat of things today. Number 1 movie for the second week in a row, Angel Has Fallen. Good Boys at number 2. The Lion King still up at number 3. Fast and the Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. And Overcomer at number 5. And then if you scroll all the way down here to the 24th position, it went up 14 spots over the weekend. Avengers Endgame making $98,000.
It made more money than it did last week because last week it made $50,000.
Yeah, it made almost double.
It has been 6 months since that movie was released in theaters, and it still almost made $100,000 in theaters.
But it's only in 110 theaters, so it's in fewer theaters than it was last week, and it made almost twice as much money.
That is nuts.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So now let's move on and take a look at our short reviews of RiffTrax Shorts.
Yes!
For this week's short reviews of RiffTrax Shorts, we're going to be taking a look at Are You Popular, released April 2nd, 2008. Are you popular?
No. Are you kidding me?
Do you even know why you aren't?
Maybe it's because I'm a dick.
If you want to be popular and go out on dates, this short is the perfect tool for you.
And it most certainly is not the perfect tool for me.
That is all this short is about. According to this short, here's a list of things that you should be doing to be popular, okay? Get a pen? Get a pen and piece of paper? You ready to write this down?
Yeah. Oh, I sure do, because this sounds like some advice I'm interested in.
First, you should write your dates down in a day planner. Don't ask someone out on a date for later that same evening.
Wait, okay, hold on. Never mind. Keep going.
Plan what time to come home from your date ahead of time.
Oh, God.
Look well. Be friendly with everyone. And have a scarf that looks like mittens. That's it. If you can do these things, then you too can be popular in 1947. This is a good riff. The very first joke of the short, delivered by Bill, is exactly what I was thinking about going into the short. I'm not going to tell you what it was because obviously that would ruin it. But there's a great bit in here about the narrator wanting some lovin'. And this short is definitely worth 10 minutes of your time. If you take these tips to heart, then you can have lots of dates, Dave.
Yeah, I'm totally interested in dating because that's a thing that I do now when I'm 38.
Back 70 years ago.
Oh, God.
I just had to throw that in there.
In a previous century. You just might live to see the 100th anniversary of that short being made. How do you feel about that?
If I live for another 27 years, I guess I'd be okay with that.
Oh, God, I hope you do live for 27 more years. Jesus.
So let's move on from the shorts to the not so shorts. Today we've got quite a pair of VODs.
Yeah, this is gonna be crazy, guys. Strap in because
I think first we have to talk about Swamp of the Ravens today.
Yeah, I chose this one. Full disclosure.
So it's your fault. This is all your fault. Just remember that.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, this is, I don't know if I would call this a deep cut because, it's, when it was released, it was a big deal. It's just kind of been forgotten, although we do get references to it every now and we do get callbacks to Swamp of the Ravens, which is more than you can say about a lot of riffs. A lot of riffs come and then they never ever get heard from again. I watched this today. I know. When was the last time you saw Swamp of the Ravens, Jeremy?
I saw Swamp of the Ravens around November 20th of 2013.
Was that the day it was released?
That's the day that it was released, yes. I did not get the opportunity to rewatch it before this, but that's because I spent my time getting through the next VOD we're going to be talking about.
Yes, quite, which is another great 2013 entry.
Yeah.
And one might argue a RiffTrax cornerstone in itself, but we'll get to it. So Swamp of the Ravens, here's the thing, and I know that this is like the number one thing people will say about it, so we'll just get through it. It's called Swamp of the Ravens, and yes, there's a swamp, but there's no ravens.
No.
The birds that are actually prominently featured are vultures or some kind of Ecuadorian buzzard.
At least the title is halfway accurate.
It is half correct, yes. The weird thing, because it was filmed in 1974 or 1975, depending on what source you look at. And it was filmed in Ecuador, but it was, okay, now, if you watch this movie, you'd think this movie is dubbed, but it's not. Well, it is. It's that weird thing that they do in Italy where they film it in English and they dub it over. They did that here, too. They wrote it in English, and they filmed it in English, and then they redubbed it into English again, which is very, they didn't use any of the same tracks that they caught while filming. So it makes it look extra foreign. But the actors themselves are not American. They're not, well, a couple of them are. But It's very strange. It's about, if you watch this movie, nothing about the movie makes sense. And like you try to follow it, and they even say so several times in the riff that just like, we have no idea what's happening. Like none.
A mad doctor attempts to conquer death by conducting a series of immoral experiments, but instead creates a flesh-eating army of the undead.
Yeah, that's basically it. And he lives out in the middle of the swamp, and his experiments. He's an evil dude. He kills a prostitute, so he's definitely a murderer.
Yep.
But there's this weird kind of semi-love story happening with a woman and her other boyfriend. Now, one of the things that this movie is, I'm not going to say famous because this movie is not famous. This movie is super obscure. There's absolutely no other information on the internet about Swamp of the Ravens other than on RiffTrax and on the Riff Wiki. I'm not even making that up.
Nope.
It's like I went through for Swamp of the Ravens, and my website, riffwiki.net, is the number 3 after IMDb and something else. I watched this movie, and I can't tell you. I mean, the spoiler alert, the guy survives, which is amazing because usually these guys die. This guy didn't die. He got himself a cool scar from when, after the big fight. And he went on to go serial kill someplace else to try to overcome death. There's this scene where the boyfriend of the woman that this guy's stalking, like I guess they broke up, and he wins her back by getting this like wooden doll or puppet or something and taking it to a karaoke bar that they go on their dates to. It sounds like a joke, but it's not. No, this actually happens in the movie, and serenades the doll that he made of his ex-girlfriend, and he sings her this song.
Oh,
and I transcribed the lyrics as best I could, and here are the words that gets them back together. This guy's the freaking poet laureate of Ecuador. Never ever will you hide from me. Life was hard but doesn't beat after all. I have such feelings for a dead robot while remembering the past and all its love. You may find yourself, I wish you were dead. My own robot, my lady. Don't stare at me with those eyes of horror. You threw out my love to you two hound dogs. What? You've torn yourself apart through fits of angry rages. Your blood flowing lifeless from your body. With these eyes of brightness that fill up the darkness. My own robot, my lady. So I guess you and I will stick it out. Those are the English words.
Is this
in an English script? This movie and this song were originally written in English. I just want to stress that.
You know what it makes me think of? I'm gonna read you a quote, and this is what this makes me think of. 800 centuries ago, their bodily fluids include the birth of half-breeds. For the fundamental truth, self-determination of the cosmos, for dark is the swade that mows like a harvest.
What the hell is that?
That is from the Martian translation device in Mars Attacks. And that's what that song made me think of. Like, they ran it through some sort of weird, like, they went into Google Translate and put it in there into some other language and then retranslated it back and did that, like, back and forth like 3 times until it was just this weird...
Like that old age filter.
Yeah. It's just this weird word salad that they decided to keep in the movie. That makes no sense, Dave.
I want to read it again, just so that like people don't have to like scroll back, because people are going to want to listen to that again. This is what it says. Okay,
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm absolutely sure. Never ever will you hide from me. Life was hard, but doesn't beat after all. I have such feelings for a dead robot, while remembering the past and all its love. You may find yourself, I wish you were dead. My own robot, my lady. Don't stare at me with those eyes of horror. You threw my love out to you 2 hound dogs. You've torn yourself apart through fits of angry rages. Your blood flowing lifeless from your body. With these eyes of brightness that fill up the darkness. My own robot. My own my lady. So I guess you and I will stick it out. Oh,
It's
but
just
yeah.
so... But you know what? The words to that song, it pretty much sums up how it feels to watch the movie.
Yeah. My own robot, my own my lady. So I guess you and I will stick it out. Yeah. But it's a shame that this song did not, or some kind of cover of it, did not make it into the next thing that we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, so we ran our listener poll this week, or this past week, and our 3 choices were The Last Slumber Party, The Apple, and Crater Lake Monster. And we had probably the closest vote we've ever had. By 1 vote, the winner was The Apple.
There's the apple. Mystery apple. Take me for a ride.
The second place was Last Slumber Party, and it missed it by 1 vote. So that's going to roll over into the next week along with Crater Lake Monster, and I'll tell you the third choice when we get to the end of this. But yeah, so The Apple, this movie, another one by our friends
Cannon,
Golan and Globus, yeah.
Yep. Menachem Golan directed it himself, the man himself.
Yeah, and it's kind of a weird retelling of the creation of man.
Yeah,
the fall of man.
Yeah, it's a weird biblical kind of. It's about Adam and Eve and being cast out of the Garden of Eden, which kind of falls apart if you think about it, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's very Old Testament-y, which makes sense since you consider how conservative Israeli Menachem Golan is.
When I was reading up about this movie, I saw something that was very interesting, and it didn't quite make any sense to me as to how these people felt this way about this movie. There's people, they read too much into everything, and they have to find a meaning for something in everything, and it's got to be just what they're projecting of themselves into the movie. At least it seems to be with some of this stuff. But the journalist Richard Harlan Smith categorized The Apple as an anti-Semitic Christian scare film, compared the story to Hitler's Mein Kampf and its ending to the Nazis' final solution. He wrote that the film involves a homophobic protagonist, Alfie, trying to save his, quote, normal relationship with Bibi from what the film considers satanic, which includes electronic music, glitter, homosexuals, and drag queens. Now, Dave, what was that you just said about the director of this film? The man Menachem Golan is a very conservative Jewish Israeli. I mean, he was the king and still remains the king of Israeli cinema. I mean, that's where, I grew up I spent many years of my youth in Israel. I have Israel in my blood. It's in my DNA. It's part of who I am. So I know about Menachem Golan and what the man says. And here's the thing: you can see a lot of Israeli tropes and Jewish tropes in The Apple. I mean, that much is obvious. But even if you take all that out, even if you don't know about that kind of thing, the final solution in the ending, the Holocaust. What? Yeah, comparing that to Hitler's, that really blew me away. just to see that, because I've watched this a number of times.
I've seen The Apple so many times. It's one of those movies I don't ever really get tired of seeing.
But one of the other things about this movie, aside from the fact of the story, is that it's a musical. And we've got songs like BIM.
It starts off with a bang with "Hey, hey, hey, BIM's on the way."
And you know what?
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the best song in the whole thing. Like Speed. A song about speed, which is about how we as Americans are hooked on the drug that is America.
Well, yeah.
Which,
you know why? It's because we're awesome.
And then, of course, there's the wonderful song "Coming."
Oh God.
Which that thankfully, once you get to that, it's almost the end of the movie. Like, you maybe have like 15 minutes of film left.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Dave while I was watching this yesterday, and I was telling him that where I was having a hard time continuing on. And I explained to him what point in the movie I was at. And he knew exactly what was going to be happening. And
I knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah. There's
Pandy takes Alfie into the back of this club, and they do it.
Yeah. Along with like a kaleidoscope of 10 other couples.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing. I mean, like there's no actual nudity or anything to be seen. But
the lyrics are obscene.
It feels so dirty. Like, I felt like I was watching a porn. It's really like.
You want to know why I think that happened? Do you want to know why I think they included that?
Why?
I think they included that so that Alfie, story-wise, because the film opens up and we have this. They're in the year 1994.
Are we sure it's 1994?
Yeah. In the far unreachable future, in the year 1994. Yes, but what year is it?
But it's a music competition.
Yeah, and Alfie, and then they have Mr. Boo, my two favorite villains in all of RiffTrax that beats out the Volturi. Mr. Boogaloo and Shake, by far the best villains in all of RiffTrax. And if that contradicts anything that I've said before, whatever, deal with it. But they're just awesome, and they are going to manipulate the world by winning this stupid music competition and by making everybody wants to be part of BIM. And this music festival was like the vehicle to get BIM out there, and you put the BIM mark, like, oh, you don't have a BIM mark? And it's supposed to be about peer pressure and conforming to society and
the mark of the beast.
Yeah. So
for people who don't know, BIM stands for Boogaloo International Music.
Yeah. So after BIM's on the way, this huge production number that must have cost several $1,000s
at least.
Yeah, and you have Alfie and BB coming in, and they sang this love song that they had, and everyone was like, "Where's BIM?" Right?
Yeah.
So,
Universal Melody.
Yeah,
that's the name of the song.
Mm-hmm. And it was just that, number one, everyone was right to boo him because it was a terrible song. But they get invited to this party where they're going to be like, hey, if you guys want to help us take over the world with our evil doofus music, then, just sign this. And but I believe at that party where they meet Mr. Boogaloo and Shake, they also meet their minions, Dandy and Pandy. And Dandy is this white guy, and they're brother and sister. Dandy is this white guy with a Jufro, and Pandy, who's just kind of the Queen Cleopatra. That's just the vibe that she has.
Yeah.
I believe that, what's his name? Dandy seduces BB, and that is kind of the catalyst for her partaking of the forbidden fruit.
Yeah, the apple.
Yeah, the
quite
apple
literally
is
a big apple.
Yeah, and then they go to sign the contract because at this point, Phoebe has cheated on Alfie, but Alfie doesn't know it.
Yeah,
has cheated on Alfie with Dandy, and they go down and they have that big musical number down in hell, which ends up being just a vision of Alfie's. And you have what's his name? You have Dandy in his bedazzled thong.
Yes.
Anyway, so they go down there and the best riff because this came out in 2013, a couple months after Twilight was still very much in the RiffTrax consciousness back then, and down in the hell sequence, a vampire comes up and there's a lyric that's like, you might meet an actual vampire, and then like a vampire lady pops up like, yeah, look, I'm a vampire, right? And then Kevin the Riff says like, hi, I married a werewolf when I was a baby, right? So man, I miss Twilight. That's not a lie. It's a joke, but it's also very, very true. But I think that now fast forward to what we were talking about the I'm Coming song. I think part of that was to make Alfie kind of like, he couldn't really, because I think at that point, like he had kind of find out that his girlfriend had got banged by Dandy at some point.
Well, he was like drugged at this point too, wasn't
he? They totally roofied him. Welcome back from the edit, everybody.
Yes.
Anyway, so Pandy takes Alfie back, and they do it. Obviously, you guys are probably not going to hear what I called it before.
No, they probably will not.
Jeremy definitely cut out the joke that I just made. And so Alfie, I get mixed up with these stupid names. Alfie can't hold it against Phoebe that, like, oh, look, I had sex with some creepy weirdo. And then they go and they leave Mr. Boogaloo's estate, and they get Pandy lets him go.
Yeah, she helps.
Yeah, she
helps Phoebe escape.
Turns, yeah. And they go and they get married. I guess they get, but they find this Tom Bombadil dude.
The hippie colony.
Yeah, the hippie colony. Now, I watched a documentary about Canon Films in that where they talked about the apple, and they said that Menachem Golan wanted to explore the world of the hippies, but then they explained, but Menachem is not a hippie. Like, he doesn't understand hippies. Like, he doesn't really know anything about hippies.
Right.
So, like, the world of the hippies is kind of, like, not informed at all. They're just kind of, like weird kind of hobbit people. Where, where they just kind of, they're like nomads, right?
Yeah.
They don't have, like, they just kind of, like, live out in the middle of nowhere, and, like, it's like Woodstock all the time. And they're dressed like crazy. And then, I guess at some point, Dandy and Pandy have a child.
No.
Not Dandy.
Alfie and Phoebe.
Yeah,
yes, these names are terrible. Except for Mr. Boogaloo. Like, that's like...
Yeah, that's like the one name that is just awesome.
Yeah.
Alfie and Phoebe have a child, and this baby is like 5 when we see him. Like,
they say it's only been like a year, but
no,
that's a big kid.
That is this kid is clearly already, like, it's not, no.
Because unless BB got pregnant with Dandy's kid.
Oh, no.
Which I...
No, why did you say that?
And it is indeed Alfie and BB's kid. The kid would only be like 3 months old at this point.
Yeah.
And the kid is clearly a toddler. Like,
yeah, at least got a whole head of hair.
Like, it's a big beefy kid. It's not like a little 3-month-old.
I've known some newborns in my life, and that definitely is not a newborn. That child is fully aware of everything that is happening, which is good because maybe he can explain it to us. Maybe we can show him Swamp of the Ravens and have him explain to us what was going on. But and then God shows up because, like, I guess Boogaloo, because I guess Bim has taken over the world at this point.
Yeah, Mr. Tops.
Yeah, Mr. Tops shows up and escorts, and Tops is God, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Mike's riff as that. Be like, I always say this when everyone's like says, "Who are you?" And they call me Mr. Tops, but what I always say is Mike's riff is, "I am the Archangel of Punch."
Yes.
And no one gets it. I don't even think very many RiffTrax fans would like know it immediately. But I always like saying I am the Archangel of Punch. That's one of my favorite riffs from the Apple. And then Mr. Tops, like, the final battle is just God taking the hippies and just leaving.
They just walk off through the sky.
Yeah. They just walk into the sky, following this gold Cadillac, and the Boogaloo just lets them, and they just kind of like, Tops, what do you think you're doing? Be like, I've had enough of you, and we're going to go to another planet. And like, wait, what? Huh? Like, this is how it ends? But I mean, I dig Mr. Tops, and Mr. Tops is played by the same actor as the hippie leader, and the hippie leader is nowhere to be found in the last scene. I mean, obviously he's not there because he's the same actor. I'm never really sure if it's if it was always like God in hiding among the hippies the whole time. Or
I think that's
really
what it's supposed to be,
or if it's really just two different characters played by the same actor.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be the same character. Just, like you said, just kind of hiding amongst the hippies. But it's not really ever explained. And I guess there's a scene cut from the beginning of the movie where they actually show Alfie being created by Mr. Tops, where he's like being carved out of stone or something.
How would that work?
I don't know, because I'm trying to find it. I just read the stuff about it because it's never really addressed in the version of the movie that we got. It's an uncut 2-song prologue of the film named Paradise Day. Mr. Tops creates heaven and carves the first human, Alfie, out of a rock, and then sends Alfie to Earth to meet BB. He sends him down to Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw,
which they definitely make a point to bring up at least 30 times in the movie, that they're from Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw,
the Sticks,
Concha Club.
And then
I never made a deal with Concha Club. Tell that to Concha Club. Concha Club.
I honestly think my favorite part of this movie is mandatory BIM exercise time, where everybody is told to stop what they're doing immediately and take part in this. So we've got some firefighters who stop fighting a raging inferno to do this little dance number. We've got we see an operating theater, and all of the doctors and nurses are dancing around, and the patient is sitting up on the table trying to do the stuff as well until he can't anymore and literally just flops over. We've got people on the roads getting out of their cars and dancing, and it's great. And we wonder why BIM never made it. BIM is on the way, but BIM never shows up.
BIM never arrived. That is correct. But another song that's really great that I think about a lot of. I mean, I think about the Apple a lot. I do. It's not even. But is the song "Cry for Me." It's I really like that song and just how it's structured, and how parts of it it's just so stupid, but
like the rest of the Apple.
Yeah, it's supposed to be connecting Alfie, and it's where BB realizes that, this is kind of a terrible situation I've gotten myself into. And she's like, "Oh, I should never have cheated on you, Alfie." And then Alfie's just be like, "Oh, I just got beat up for trying to for trying to stalk my ex.
He got stomped, man.
Yeah,
it was like
he wasn't even really doing anything if you think about it.
No. And then they tell him to go to her, and
yeah, that's right.
One of the guys is like, I just did, and I got my ass kicked.
Yeah, it just happened. We have to talk about, I know we're kind of running a little bit long, but we have to talk about the scene where Alfie is talking. I think it's the first time we see the landlady, who is like this.
Oh God. Yeah.
Who
awkward,
is, where she's like, I guess he's like playing around with her and just like joking around. And I don't know the nice way to say this.
He just goes right for it. Takes a handful of both boobs.
Right. And just like, like, you need to pay the rent. You need to pay the rent. And
I'll
he
pay
just
the rent.
the rent. It just grabs her boobs. Like, it just like squeezes it. Like, it's just like, what?
What is it with
what
people
just
in
happened?
these movies and doing that? You know, it's funny.
It
because,
was a legit. It was like I saw it and I was just shocked. Like, what?
We have really weird gropey guys in all of these movies. It seems to be like, if it's a bad movie, the guy is going to be like very sex pesty.
Well, the thing is that it seems to me like it happens all the time.
Yeah, it seemed like she was used to it.
Yeah, it's just like she seems surprised, but like not like upset up. Like, you just grabbed my boobs, right? No, but it wasn't like that. Just like oh, here we go again. Like,
and you know the actress, she shares some RiffTrax ties with some other films. Yeah.
What?
Professor Sprout in the Harry Potter movies.
Ooh. Wow.
I have seen her in a bunch of other films. Like, it's never like a big part, but yeah, she plays Professor Sprout.
Did she ever get her boobs grabbed again?
Well, not by Harry. I don't know.
But anyway, you got anything else to say about the apple? Because, man, I could be here all day about the apple. They could just go like through a bunch of stuff.
It's weird as hell. If you're not watching it with RiffTrax, God help you, because like, I guess you might enjoy the music or whatever, but yeah, it's not an easy one to sit through.
Oh, I love it, but I watch it with the RiffTrax. So
yeah,
it's I don't think I would watch it without the RiffTrax. I don't think I can make it through, but it's with the RiffTrax, it's freaking. I mean, like that's one of the things I love about RiffTrax so much, is that it exposes me to great stuff that I could never stomach before. Same thing with Swamp of the Ravens. For better or worse, My Own Robot, My Lady.
And the same thing with a couple of our other movies on the listener poll.
Yeah.
Like The Last Slumber Party, which will be back on the poll as stated earlier. Crater Lake Monster.
I got lots of words to say about that one, so everyone
also
vote
going
that,
to be
damn it.
on the poll again. And they will be joined this week by the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
So Last Slumber Party, Super Mario Brothers, and Crater Lake Monster will all be going up for you to vote on later this week. And so please look for that. We'll be up on Twitter and on Facebook. And that's going to wrap it up for us today. Don't forget, you can still pre-order the live show VOD for Giant Spider Invasion. That comes out on October 15th. I'm Jeremy. You can find me at pbandawesome.com. You can send me an email, jeremy@trueblueriffcast.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at pbandawesome. And you can follow the podcast on Twitter at tbriffcast.
And I'm Dave. You can check me out at sugarraydodge.com. Send me emails at dave@trueblueriffcast.com. Before we go, I just want to remind you that you threw out my love to you to the hound dogs. You've torn yourself apart through fits of angry rages. Your blood flowing lifeless from your body with these eyes of brightness that fill up the darkness. My own robot, my lady. So I guess you and I will stick it out. Thank you. My own robot, my own, my lady.